Welcome to the Rich in Purpose Transform Childhood Summit. Today we have with us Natasha Bray. She's the creator of Heart Healing and a heart-centered trauma healing method and the founder of the School of Healing Mastery. She works with high-achieving women and leaders to heal the deep heart wounds that block love, money, and genuine inner peace. Welcome, Natasha.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here and excited to share more about heart healing and tips that can help people heal their own hearts today too.
Well, thank you. You know, when I was researching it and writing some of the questions, I'm like, I sure want to know the answers to some of these questions. So I'm excited to have you here to share it with our audience. But Natasha, I know that to get to this point, you have lived quite a traumatic childhood as well. So before I get into the questions, do you want to tell our audience a little bit about what your childhood was like and how you got to this point?
Yeah, sure. I'm a big believer that we go through the things in life that we are meant to help others through. And I have been through every form of trauma that you can imagine, severe childhood abuse, chronic childhood abuse, all the way through my younger years and my teenage years. And then, not surprisingly, that led to lots of abusive, controlling, narcissistic relationships because my blueprint for love was abuse. And so, you know, not everyone has gone through that level of trauma. I do believe that trauma is not necessarily the things that happen to us. It's what happens within us because of that trauma. But we've all been through experiences and had relationships that have caused wounds within us.
Well, you know, the one thing, no matter where you are in life, typically, especially today, they say 80% of people have went through some kind of trauma. So it's to the point where most of the people that you meet on outside have went through some sort of trauma, whether it be big T or little t, but it still affects the way that you think and about the way that you go through life. So
Yeah,
I would like to
absolutely.
start off with this question, Natasha. It says, many people know you as the creator of Heart Healing and the School of Healing Mastery, but not everyone knows the story underneath it. What was the one moment you realized that traditional mindset work wasn't enough and that you were being called to create a heart-based modality?
That's a really interesting question. So I have a very big background in psychology. I was a psychology student, and I've done a degree in psychology, a master's in social work, and I'm actually studying again now for PhD in spiritual psychology. And as much as I love to learn the science side of how the mind and healing and transformation works, I felt like I was just learning a lot, but not actually healing myself. I was learning about how people work, how the mind works, how we transform people through evidence-based modalities. And I came to a point in my own healing journey where I realized that I was still extremely wounded despite all of this knowledge that I had, that I wasn't able to get over the things that happened to me. Information, I guess, wasn't enough. And I started training in different modalities. These were mind-based modalities at the time. And again, there was something missing from that for me. So I was getting my mind-based transformation in one place, then I was going for spiritual healing in another place and energy healing somewhere else. And because of my background in social work, what I realized when I was training in these different modalities, where is the heart? Where is the relationship piece in all of this? And that was when I just started to integrate more of the heart and the spiritual side of things into the modalities that I learned, and then created something that I believe is infinitely more powerful as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many times we study and read motivational books and self-development books, and all of a sudden we find out we're still in the same place. We go through little and we get triggered and go through cycles, but we always end up at the same place. And I really believe, Tasha, that it is because we forget to love ourselves, we forget to love others, and just thinking won't get us to a new level, right? We
Yeah.
have to change our heart in order to love ourselves and to get to the next level.
Yeah, that's true. And I do really see the value in every different form of transformation tool and healing that there is. At a certain point in our journey, we're only ready for the mind level stuff. We need to discover that and experience that before we realize, oh, actually, maybe I need to go deeper. Maybe there's something more available to me that I'm not getting from this. So I see the value in everything. Mind level transformation is really important. But then for me, the heart, there's so much research out there about the heart that shows your heart actually informs your brain rather than the brain informing the heart. Your heart is actually has an electromagnetic frequency thousands of times stronger than your brain as well. And there's lots of research that the heart stores its own memories. They call it the heart brain, right? So there's a different level of transformation available to us when we start to access the heart and what is stored within the heart to transform us. If you think about it, I believe personally that everything in life is a relationship game. I believe success is a relationship game. How much money we have is a relationship game, as well as our actual relationships with people, with ourselves, right? And so what is at the root of all of those relationships? It's our heart and the wounds of the heart, or how open or closed our heart is, that can change the relationship we have with everything.
I mean, it's the one thing we just start hearing about is your
Mm.
relationship with money, right? So many people struggle with, money and in their lives and moving forward. And so now all of a sudden you're hearing, oh, do you have a good relationship with money? Which I never heard before until recently, like the
Mm.
last year or two. And well, I
So,
think go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry, that's a really big area actually, because a lot of people see or come to realize they don't have a good relationship with money. Sometimes you're able to receive it, but you're not able to hold it. Or sometimes you're not even able to receive it. Or when you do get it, you push it away quickly again. And actually, a lot of people who I work with think they've got something we call money blocks, which is a struggle with your relationship with money. But what we see is more around your relationship with yourself that is causing you to push away money or not feel worthy of holding on to that money, not feel good enough to have it. So when you heal your relationship with yourself, as a natural side effect, you change your relationship with money too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing for me is my biggest struggle sometimes is my relationship with money.
Mm.
because I've always been able to make money. I just haven't been able to hold on to money. And like sometimes I'll get a certain level and I'll just give it away because I'm not supposed to have this much money. Right? And
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I find myself back in exactly the same place that I was before I made all the money. So
Mm.
I understand. I'm excited really to see that people are now calling it a relationship with money rather than just you just don't know how to manage money, right?
Yes, yes. No, that's very interesting, and thank you for sharing that. I'm sure lots of people will resonate with you. I also had a really bad relationship with money for a lot of my life. And it was actually through this journey of healing my heart, healing the wounds that had caused me to feel not worthy or deserving of having money, not capable of looking after money, not good enough, not lovable, all of these things. And through healing that, my capacity to receive and hold money greatly expanded in a very short space of time. So now I have an amazing relationship with money because my relationship with myself has changed so much. And it's actually, I'll just add a little thing in there. Your relationship with your parents and the attachment patterns you have in that relational dynamic most influence your relationship with money.
Yeah. I mean, before I move to the next question, I just want to tell you, when I was interviewing with you before this, and you said that when you learn to love yourself, that's when your relationship with money became good and you were able to earn money. I thought that one little statement just stuck with me.
Yeah.
But and then the next question I have is you often say the real wound isn't the event, it's what happened to our heart in that moment. For someone listening who's done a lot of mindset work but still feels stuck or burnt out, what's the difference when we start healing at the heart level instead of just the mind?
Yeah. Thank you for that. So for me, really healing at the heart level means healing our emotions and our relationships that created those emotions. And what I tend to find, especially with some people here may have had things like talk therapy, and again, I believe every therapy, every type of modality does have its value at different points in life, in the healing journey. Um, but what I tend to find is people on what happened to them, the experience that they had, and working through that experience and healing from the experience. But if we're taking a heart lens and a relational lens, we're actually healing from the person who was involved in that experience rather than the experience itself. It's this different complex layer of wounding or trauma, whatever word most resonates for you. We're actually and I give the example sometimes. You could be attacked by somebody in the street, and that would be incredibly traumatic to go through that experience. But if you're attacked by somebody who is meant to love you and keep you safe, there's a whole added extra layer of relational trauma there that dramatically impacts you, your sense of safety, your sense of trust in the world. And when we're working with healing the heart, that's really where we're focusing. We're healing the relationships that cause the wounds to our heart that I believe a lot of mind-based modalities don't really tend to look at and fully address.
Yeah. Well, for most of our lives, we were concentrating on healing through the mind. It's just now that we're starting to heal through the heart and through the body and those types of things. But I want
Yeah.
to ask you a question, Natasha. Like for the first 7 years, I guess, of your life, that's when you're really a child and you learn more. I don't really remember the first 7 years of my life. Maybe three things through the first 7 years. How do you, when you're trying to heal somebody's heart, how do you bring that out so that they remember what happened instead of just like blocking it out?
So, it's very normal if you had quite a traumatic childhood to not have memories about the past, and you don't always need to know the memories in my form of approach to healing. Um, but what I typically tend to do, first of all, is take people through something I call an unveiling process, where we first learn about the wound and how that wound might be appearing in your life so that you can start to recognize that wound within yourself, within your business or your career, within your relationships, and how that wound is especially showing up for you. And then we just keep peeling away the layers, and then we talk about the types of experiences that could lead to that wound. So there is a conscious process, a mind-based process with this. First of all, awakening awareness around that wound and how it's shown up for you and the types of experiences that can lead to it. Then it's like, well, who was involved in those experiences? So it's almost like a peeling away bit by bit of these different layers to have that conscious awareness. Then the heart healing modality specifically focuses on subconscious work. So the person is put into a deeply relaxed meditative state and taken back to or shown a person that has caused the wound, the person who's at the root of the wound. And that reveals things that consciously might not have come to the surface in the unveiling process. So there's different layers to this. I find subconscious work incredibly powerful for people who can't remember the things that they went through in the past. But with my approach, you don't necessarily need to remember what you went through. You need to remember who was involved in causing the pain for you.
Well, I'm one of the, Laura, she's a founder of the Rich in Purpose, and we're actually gonna do some heart healing here in a little bit. So I'm
Amazing.
anxious to get into, or eager, I should say, and to get
Mhm.
into my subconscious mind, because that is the key, right? I mean, your subconscious mind never forgets, and you have to deal with your subconscious mind so that you don't keep getting the same triggers.
And I just want to add something as well. What I really love about subconscious work, and that opened my eyes to so much and gave me understanding and healing that decades of learning in university and psychology and all of the things didn't give me, is that it's never something you would consciously think was at the root of the wound or the issue that you're dealing with. And so truly believe that it's something you would never have got to through more conscious level talk therapy style approaches. Even though they are also powerful in their own way, there's something very fast and deep about accessing the subconscious to reveal what you could never have remembered or recalled on a conscious level.
Well, anything that really controls 90% of what you do in life, if you can learn to adjust the thoughts that it has, I think you can learn to adjust your life. So it's great that you deal mainly with or a lot with the subconscious. I want to ask you, Natasha, before we move to the next question, so many of us, as with trauma, we become people pleasers. We become these people that try to work to get approval.
Yeah.
How does the heart healing address us so that we get away from those types of things? Because once we get to be adults, people pleasing, if you want to become a leader, you can't
Yeah.
lead people if you're still going to be a people pleaser.
Mm. It's really interesting you've said that, and also the leader piece, because when I first developed the heart wounds, they were actually leadership wounds. I had identified them as leadership wounds that were stopping people step into leadership in their businesses. And then over time, I realized these were universal wounds that everybody has. And for me, I think that each universal wound of the heart that we have, and there are 5 that I've identified, leads to a survival strategy or an identity in a way that we present a mask. We could call it a mask that you wear, that you present to the world to not have that wound reactivated or triggered again. And so the people pleaser, I call it the overgiver, is one of those masks. The hustler, which is, of course, the one who works a lot and overworks and perhaps neglects other areas of their life, that one is linked to something I call the worth wound. So you've got the overgiver, and at the root of that is the love wound of the heart. You've got the hustler, at the root of that is the worth wound. You've got the imposter. I don't know about you, but I think everybody in business has experienced the imposter at some point. And that one is very connected to the trust wound of the heart. So lots of people who struggle in business, perhaps not knowing who they really are, what they're really meant to be doing in their business, feeling like they're not very confident or they pretend to be confident, feel like their success is just fluke or luck or chance. That is the very much the imposter mask, the imposter identity. And really, lots of people will feel like I don't have clarity. I don't really have clarity. I need clarity. And actually, when I had so many people come into me with this issue, and it was a blind spot for me because I had a huge imposter myself that I didn't realize at that point in my journey. Um, every time we went into the subconscious to see what's going on, it was always a lack of self-trust. So this brings us to the trust wound of the heart. And actually, when you have self-trust, you no longer need that imposter identity. And you're able to really step into leadership and use your intuition in business and take action from a place of trust. If there's one gift I think every entrepreneur needs, it is the gift of self-trust. Because when you have that, you are really unstoppable.
Well, I mean, I agree that if you can have self-trust, but it kind of comes also to the mask. And I want to just ask you one more question on that one because we put on a mask and we don't let people get to know us too much. And as I've grown older, what I realize is that people just don't connect with me sometimes because they realize that he's not telling me too much about himself, right? Just enough for me to like him, maybe. So, and how do we do with that? Because sometimes, like I can be have I can feel like I have a lot of people that I know, but just a few friends. And sometimes you can get to Christmas and you spend Christmas by yourself, even though you have 50 people that you know, they don't ask you over to their house for lunch for Christmas dinner because they think you got other things going on. So
Mm.
how do you let people get to know you if you just continue with your mask?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one human fear that is a fear everybody has um, is the fear of being rejected. And this links to the outcast and the wound, what I call the acceptance wound. And so we, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We don't let people get to know the real us because it feels scarier to be rejected for our true selves than to be rejected for the mask that we put on. And so there is something I discovered on my journey. We think of love as being like a really highest frequency emotion, but authenticity is actually the highest frequency emotion. And what I saw on my own journey was the more I healed myself, especially the wounds that lead to perfectionism, because that's such a big mask that creates a disconnect, the wounds around fear of being seen for who we really are, the fear of being rejected, the more I just started to love and accept myself for who I am and be able to show up that way, the more people connected to me. And that wasn't just personally, it was in business. There was a very clear change, a shift where more and more people wanting to work with me, the more I let go of those masks. The more, and it's healing the wounds that helps you let go of those masks.
Well, I know Brene Brown says vulnerability can be your superpower.
Mm,
So
yeah.
if we can just learn to have people accept us for who we are, then we can just be. I guess that we can go keep going in our lives. But that's
Yeah.
the thing because so many times, especially with childhood trauma, is we weren't accepted by our parents. So how do we know other people are going to accept us?
Mhm.
So that it's such a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah, and really we have to accept ourselves, right? The reason we fear being rejected so much or others not accepting us is because there are parts of us we are rejecting in ourselves and not accepting in ourselves. And so to fully reclaim your power, you have to heal what it is within you that is stopping you love and accept who you are, because then you're bulletproof to rejection from anyone else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just find that it's so hard to do everything that we need to do to become the person that we want to become. It all comes really down to self-love. Once we learn to love ourselves, and we can say, well, if you love me, then that's good. But if you don't, then I have a bunch of other people that love me, and I can live life without.
Yeah, and that was actually the first significant stage in my own healing journey. And just, I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs in your audience. Um, I, so self-love really is the belief I am enough, like feeling that you are enough for who you are, all of your flaws and mistakes and everything you've ever been through, that you are enough just as you. And that was my first significant subconscious work that I did, was really finding the root of why I didn't feel enough and healing that. And I had been plateaued at a certain income level in my business for about 3 years, and I could not get past that income plateau. And I did this subconscious healing on being enough, and no word of a lie, I shot past that income plateau. And that was the start of my journey of going from 3K months to six-figure months within 18 months of doing this healing work on the different wounds. And that enoughness piece, that self-love. Because some people think self-love sounds a little bit fluffy. That was me at one point. I was, very much, a woman that was more in my masculine energy, and oh, self-love. I'd rather work hard. Do you know what I mean? That was that was very much my approach to success. And then being humbled through the journey of discovering actually self-love is one of the most powerful things you can have, as you've just said. And believing you're enough is the significant foundation for all of the success that you want to create in your life.
I mean, one of the reasons that I really started Rich in Purpose is because so many people don't know how to really even receive love. Because one of
Mm.
the things when I was even in going 30s and 40s, I wanted one thing, and that was to be loved. And then
Yeah.
you kind of get into, if you date someone right, you become that person that just over gives them with, I guess, what do you call it these days, where you just love bomb them because you just don't want them to go away, and then to be able to receive love. So the one thing with the rich and purpose is I'm creating a community that you can come here and know that you'll be loved and that you'll be encouraged and accepted for who you are, not who you're trying to be.
Mm. Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this one, it says, how do you see survival strategies show up in business and leadership, and what begins to shift when we start dissolving those heart walls? We kind of went over a little bit of it then, but if you
Yeah.
have anything that you kind of want to expound on there.
Yeah, there are different survival strategies linked to each of the heart wounds. We see fears of visibility that can show up as not wanting to do videos like this or do video marketing, or whatever, public speaking fears. They all are the symptom of the acceptance heart wound, the fears of being rejected. And sometimes you have people who are doing all those things. They are showing up and speaking and being seen, but they're wearing the mask. So it's not authentic visibility. Um, you have the the worth wound of the heart, which leads to hustling, overworking, and actually it's the root of many addictive style behaviors, including work addiction, where you are working really hard, but you don't seem to be seeing that reflected in your bank balance. You are overworking, causing burnout, causing issues in relationships because you're neglecting yourself, your health, your relationships, because your worth is highly attached to what you achieve. And you believe that working hard equals the next level of success. Um, And so actually that's probably one of the most significant wounds linked to receiving and making more money. It's actually healing the worth wound of the heart, knowing that you're worthy and deserving for receiving that just for who you are. And, what I find is a lot of women that I work with, I tend to work with women entrepreneurs mostly, but my practitioners work with men too, is everyone has these wounds affecting them at the different levels of business, the different levels of leadership. You could struggle to delegate, struggle to hire people because you feel like you have to do it all yourself or you're not worthy of receiving from it. Overgiving, you can attract clients who are perhaps not the right fit clients, clients who drain you, because when you overgive to people, you give them permission to overtake. It's a two-way thing. And so you might not feel very happy in your business. You might feel resentful that you're giving, 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 working, 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 and not really seeing the fruits of that labor and that giving. And that's just a few examples, really, but it does affect all relationships, and your business is a relationship. Every person you interact with in your audience, every client that you have, every team member, every collaborator, all of these are relationships. So, of course, your wounds of the heart are going to affect all of those relationships. And when you heal them, it changes all of those relationships too.
Yeah. I mean, so many, so many times we don't realize that what we do is a wound from our childhood. It's
Mm.
like overworking. I'm just kind of learning that almost in this summit, really, is so many people have asked that question. And I just thought, oh, I just work hard because I just want to get to a certain level, but it's really something that I really kind of need to heal. So overworking, so, like I said, so many times people don't understand that it's something that you're dealing with, not something that is really promoting you to go forward.
Yeah, and we are trained to be like that. We are trained from a very young age to work hard and develop a good work ethic, and that all of our worth, you're rewarded for what you achieve and getting good grades and getting the job that makes everybody look good and proud of you. So it's no surprise that we are all very much have a tendency to be more towards overworking. And overworking or work addiction, if you want to look at it in that sense, is seen as a socially acceptable form of addiction,
No,
one that you're praised for and given lots of credit for.
well, like for myself, I just love to do self-help books. And
Mm.
I can read them and read them and read them and read them, but sometimes, unless you really get to someone that understands your trauma through a trauma lens, I just kept ending up again at the same place. I have a really positive mind, but I hadn't dealt with what was causing me to read all of these books and try to
Mm.
change.
Yeah. Well, we also would link that to the imposter a little bit as well, the imposter and the trust wounds, because the imposter believes they need more books, more certifications, more courses before they can finally move forward with what they want.
Well, I mean, just I'm kind of sharing a lot with you today, but just the imposter syndrome. I have read, I don't know, I'm sure it's thousands of self-development books, but I do this for our rich and purpose. But I have coaches and therapists to help people because I have the imposter syndrome that I haven't achieved enough to really coach people yet. So
Mm.
it's something that I feel like I can really do this well. So I do this, but I'm not going to take the step into helping people because I'm not 100% sure that maybe I won't give them all the right advice.
Yeah, that's definitely the imposter coming up.
Yeah.
But that's normal. That's normal when you're venturing into things.
Yeah. Well, you can always get there at another time, right? But as long as I have the people to do what my vision is, then I can do this and I don't have to kind of venture into
I,
that.
I believe you already have enough. You are enough and you have enough to do it. And you just have to believe that in yourself. I actually have worked with clients who were making millions a year and they still felt like an imposter. They still felt like they weren't enough to, and they didn't know how they were doing it even. Because it's actually what you, if you look back on research, it's actually some of the most intelligent, capable people that do have strong imposter syndrome because it comes so naturally to them, they don't realize it is a gift.
Right. Well, it's kind of a word that just it's like the trauma that has been really popular in these last couple of years. Imposter syndrome all of a sudden just popped up. Right? I don't remember it being so common a few years back, but now it seems to be everybody's got imposter thinking about imposter syndrome. It says, and here's the question. It says, for someone listening who feels their heart is very armored, maybe it hasn't felt safe to soften or receive. What is one gentle, practical way that they can start connecting with their heart in daily life, even before they step into full heart healing sessions or programs?
Mm. So something just quite powerful, but a practical tool that people can use daily or weekly, depending on how emotional it is for you, is something I like to call therapeutic letters. And you can do this as part of a journaling practice, maybe about 20 minutes to do a therapeutic letter. And, one example that I can give for anyone listening right now is to just write a letter to the 7-year-old you. So you write letters to yourself, essentially, at different ages and stages of your life. And start with the 7-year-old you, because that tends to be, you mentioned the first 7 years, of course, um, you don't remember much before that. But research shows by the age of 7, you formed most of your beliefs. So age 7 tends to be an inner child that needs healing in lots of people. So you just write a letter to the 7-year-old you and just tell them the things that you think they would need to hear. So lots of lovely things that perhaps you didn't get told as a child that you wish you had been told, that how loved you are, how special you are, how capable you are, anything that you feel your little self needs to hear. And it doesn't have to be age 7, but that's just a good one to start with. And then, if you're feeling brave, you can continue that journey by getting your 7-year-old self to write back to you. And they tell you what it was like to hear that and what they need from you. Because most of us do have an inner child that has needs that are not being met. And we're trying to seek those needs being met from outside of ourselves, when now really we have to be the one to meet our own inner needs, our own inner child's needs. So the therapeutic letter practice can start to open up some self-healing, but also really hearing from those younger parts of you, what is it that they need, and then you can try to meet those needs.
Well, Natasha, I mean, you've given me so much like new thoughts
Mm.
when we're talking here. For someone that would like to kind of reach out to a heart healing practitioner or something, how would they get a hold of someone to get into this and to kind of address their subconscious mind?
Well, you can find out more about heart healing on www.schoolofhealingmastery.com. And we have a practitioners directory on the website as well. So you can find a practitioner either who in an area of specialism that you want support with, or in your own country or language. We have practitioners all over the world.
Great. Well, before I go, I just want to ask you one more question. Is that so many times people they don't want to get hypnotized, or they don't think that they can get hypnotized. Can you
Mm.
can you kind of give us a little bit of comfort to know that we're okay to get hypnotized and it's going to be able to help our subconscious mind?
Yeah, actually, I've worked with many, many people who were hypnotists themselves and couldn't be hypnotized. And I think maybe there's just a lot of meaning put on the word hypnosis and being hypnotized that isn't really what it actually is. for me, I like to just think of it as a deeply relaxed a deeply relaxed meditative state. So you're just relaxed, and in that relaxed state, with your eyes closed, you're just able to access more memories, more information from the subconscious than you would be able to normally. So I don't even really like to call it hypnosis because I think that there's a lot of stigma and associations with that word that are not really what a therapeutic meditative state is. And I have been able to guide everybody into that meditative state. I believe that everybody can access that either themselves through a silent meditation. I like to do that quite often, or with the help of a practitioner.
Well, I mean, I just want to thank you so much, Natasha, for being a part of the summit. And I'm going to encourage people that are trying to move forward in life. If this feels like a good step for you to address your subconscious and to address your heart, reach out to someone that has a heart healing practitioner that can help you. And I'm sure that we're going to do other summits, Natasha, and we hope that you guys will be a part of that one as well. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
I forgot to mention there is a free assessment you can do on the School of Healing Mastery website that will actually identify the biggest heart wound that is impacting you receiving more money, love, and success right now. And so that can identify your biggest wound, and then you can take that result to a practitioner and they can do the heart healing with you.
We can put that on the screen if you just put that name that website. We'll put it on the screen so people can get there.
www.schoolofhealingmastery.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, Natasha, thank you again so much, and we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.